renewable energy projects, and you all know that there are project developers, investors, you need a political frame, and you of course need the manufacturers and the technologists, those who deliver the technology. There's a man sitting who says, I'm able to present all of this as a turnkey, as a holistic approach, and I'm very eager to get the news on your idea, Mr. Heimhofer.
I'm representing German investors from the investment family, for example, Middle East Best Select, the fund family that is focusing in investing in the Middle East region in renewable energy, in particular in photovoltaic projects in the region. So I'm coming from an investment approach, and whatever I'm telling you, it's clearly focused on, from an investment point of view, the best returns at the lowest possible risk. This is important to know in the beginning. So we invest in solar power production, we invest in the manufacturing, and we invest in education and training. Our investors are invested since decades in solar energy in Germany, in other parts of Europe. And when you look to the map, then it's clear when you invest in solar projects in Europe, definitely it's more profitable in that region. I don't need to go deeper. There is, it's a fact. A solar panel in Moscow produces 3 times more power than here in Berlin. Another fact is that the consumption, this is a graph of one of the countries in the Middle East we are working on, is often during daytime, so from 7 to 6. You see the peak around 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a perfect scenario for a photovoltaic. So if you introduce photovoltaic to do a kind of peak shelving, it is not a question of storage at all. We are investors and we are investing there where it makes sense. And it definitely makes sense to such a peak shelving because the storage is more expensive. We all know that. So that's a fact. So we are focusing on a first instance. We are also in thermic projects. We are also involved in CSP. But a fact is PV produces the power cheaper than the rest. That's a fact. And we are investors and want to produce power at the most aggressive price. And as long as the peak is during the day, when you have the peak in the PV, it definitely makes sense to start there. But what is a very attractive and interesting point is the following. You see the yellow line, this is the production per kilowatt for PV. So we started, this is by the way a study from ILF, from Munich. So we started around 2000 with production costs of 35 cents US dollar per kilowatt. Over time, you see this is the price going down due to, we all know, the panel prices have come dramatically down. At the same time, we see the oil price has come up. So it's like, very silent time, 2006, 7, 8, there was a break-even. A fact is, today PV is by far, produces by far cheaper power than diesel, for example. So the break-even was around that time, about 22 kilowatt per hour. Then now we are around 12, 15 cents US dollar. It depends on radiation, of course, you all know that. But it's a fact, PV is cheaper than oil. And gas is difficult to match, but it is also, here you see the gas price, but of course it is only if you have to buy the gas on the Walmart prices. All the figures are based on Walmart prices, which is the only basis to compare these figures. And you see in the future, if you have a look in the future, we heard from Professor Flüger that oil price might go down, but the price of the break-even price is about $60. If the oil price goes below $60 per barrel, then at today's market price, then it's challenging to produce cheaper power with PV. But I personally do not believe very much that oil price goes below $60 per barrel. Okay. So, what is our strategy? We are investing in the development of solar power plants, but we realized in the region there is a lack of everything. Lack of manufacturing capacity, lack of know-how and human capital and so on. That's why we are developing and investing in this integrated approach. We produce all the components locally. We invest in factories locally. There is a factory in Fujairah, for example, in the meantime there are further factories, panel factories coming to the region. We have invested in education programs together with the university, German university, by the way. So we are bringing German investors to the region, we invest. And by the way, we are investing in the first step of the value chain. This is very convincing for Middle East countries because they're not that familiar with this technology, but we take the initial risk, and if everything is up and running and functioning, then further investors are happy to join us. So this is actually our business model. We invest in the development of solar power plants. That's a pretty clear picture. But we invest also in the manufacturing capacity, so we set up factories for panels, we set up factories for aluminium frames. For example, Jordan has issued a law that, by the way, Jordan is the first country that has a feed-in tariff in that region, that have issued a law that if you produce your panels locally, you get 15% higher price than the feed-in tariff for your power. That makes it very attractive because for a 100 megawatt plant, you can write off your factory in the first project. So this is the trend. So the Jordan law exactly confirms our approach that we have started 3 years ago. Then we invest in human capital development. What does it mean? We have a strong collaboration and cooperation with the University of Aachen. They have a setup, for example, in Muscat, Geotech, together with the Caboose University. We train 10,000 local Omanis in the next 10 years, and we finance scholarships for students. So we build the industry from scratch, education, training, and our technology partner committed to train local Omanis, for example, in that particular project in Germany, in the factories, to go back home and develop the project. So when we come to the solar power plants, we initiate, develop, build, and finance. So we are coming from a pure financial aspect, and we will not finance a project if the education and the manufacturing is not part of the whole integrated approach. Then, of course, we are aiming at the PPA for about 25 years, and we clearly own, operate on a build, own, operate, and transfer basis. When it comes to the manufacturing capacity, as I said, we set up these factories. We train local blue and white collar. We generate jobs locally. For example, a 400 megawatt plant that we have in one of the countries under development creates 2,000 direct jobs in that industry. And the industry, we generate know-how, knowledge, expertise locally, and that is very appealing for countries in that region. When it comes to human capital development, as I just said about the Oman project, we have also a project in a 400 megawatt project in Morocco, where we do a test plant, and we give the university there, the local university, an education program. We set up an institute where the local students can test not only the various technologies, but also the local system, how it works when you when you go to the grid where the law is not yet there. So we test actually the whole approach on the ground. We have 2 test stations under development, one in Oman, one in Morocco, and with these 2 universities we are working together to create local knowledge, local expertise on the ground. And for us, as an investor, we are going back. We are not politicians. We are not a charity organization at all. We are just investing on behalf of German investors. And we believe it only works hand in hand with this integrated approach to make sure things are properly set up, things are properly run, and then if we have the local component where we create jobs, education, training locally, then under these circumstances we get a very strong support from the local governments when it comes to license, land, grid connection, and all the rest. So this is our approach. We have these projects available at these companies where we have already set up, and further companies are about to follow. So that was a bit our approach. Thank you very much for your attention.